Hello, 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 ladies. Thanks for joining me today. I am Twanna Carter. I am an anxiety and career coach, and I help women who are fed up with their anxiety holding them back. And what they want to do is overcome that stress and that doubt so they can get back on track for success and happiness because you don't have to choose one over the other. If you do it right, you don't have to choose one over the other. So I'm so appreciative of you of joining me. Just take a few seconds and let people join on. Go ahead and hop on. And just a little bit of self disclosure here. I do have two screens up, so I do glance to the side sometimes because I'm looking at another screen. And I am going to look at my chat over here. Yes, you can actually chat today. If you have questions, you have comments you want to pop out there, feel free to drop them in the chat box and I will answer them or address them while I'm on live. And for those of you who always catch me on a replay, because I know I do have people that it is already 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, but you always catch me on the replay as usual. Thank you, thank you, thank you for catching the replay and spending time. And you too as well, just feel free to drop your comments there because I do go back after the live is done and I answer and attend to questions. So we have that going, right? So today, good topic, and I am thankful to the ladies I have a secret Facebook group, the ladies and women on a mission. I want to thank them for last week's topic and this week's topic, right? So this week we're talking all about mindset, about growth mindset, because what I do as an anxiety coach, because people go, well, what's the difference between an anxiety counselor and an anxiety coach? As a coach, I do a lot of coaching around mindset. So I don't treat, I don't diagnose people. We don't do that as coaches, but I do a lot of mindset coaching around that anxiety and how some people have a fixed mindset and they let the anxiety stop them from achieving the things they want to. That is why people see me as an anxiety coach, right? It is because I help them get over the anxiety and to achieve the goals that they have set, right? So today's topic is, how does a growth mindset manage stress? How can you use it to help you manage stress, right? And so that is the topic of today. And we have another mindset topic on Thursday. So be sure to stay to the end because I'll tell you about that one as well. Okay. So I just do want to mention a couple of things. I've already said that there's a chat box there. If you have a comment, you have a question, you can drop that there. And there should also be a private chat as well. If we do a private chat as much as possible, I'll try to attend to that. And if not, I'll catch you after the live is over with, right? And so, because I am someone who has anxiety, I have social anxiety, I always have a little ritual that I go through. And that is what helps me just kind of get focused and kind of stay straight so that, the anxiety doesn't bubble up. Because while I do coach on anxiety and coach how to get around it, there are some things that kind of will hit me for a loop sometimes. So saying I have notes, right? And I have done training in different parts of my life. Go from notes. Well, I go from notes because I can chit chat and talk and miss some things that I really wanted you all to hear. And of course, the reason why you're here in the first place, right? To hear about how we can use a growth mindset to manage stress. So I'm looking at my notes every so often to be sure I am covering everything that I need to say, right? So let's go ahead and get started without further ado. So one thing that we do know, and that is this: stress is here to stay. So you didn't hear me say, hey, come today and learn about how to take stress out of your life for forever and it'll make it go away. Poof, pow, disappear. No, stress will always be with us. It is everywhere. Now, depending on who we are and what we're doing, there's just varying levels, right? And degrees of stress, but it's always here. And what stresses you may not stress your teacher, may not stress your boss, it may not stress your kids, it may not stress your mom, it may not stress your coworkers, but it will stress you. So we're just different depending on, what makes us stress, right? So now, saying that, yeah, stress is here every day. It's not going anywhere. We really don't have to be fatalistic about it. Not at all. We really don't. We need to do two things. We need to first understand, right, how to target when stress happens, what's really going on. And then number two, we need to target what's actually causing the stress and then use the best tools out there to manage the stress. So let's start with a little definition of what is stress, right? So I actually went out and I looked up in a couple of different places. And so medicine is just a little difference in the definitions, but I wanted to give you two. So according to Medicine Net, it says that stress is a physical, mental, or emotional factor that causes bodily tension or causes mental tension. Stresses can be external from the environment, from psychological or stressful situations, or it can be internal, like stress you get from illness or what we're feeling or what we're thinking, right? So I also went over to Merriam-Webster's. We know Webster's dictionary, right? Remember your teacher used to tell you, go look it up if you want to know what it meant? Still using Webster's today. Now, Webster's defines stress as a physical, chemical, or emotional factor that causes bodily tension or mental tension. So you both know, you notice that both definitions talk about bodily tension or mental tension, right? And it may be a factor in disease causation. So actually, I can tell you that yes, stress, if it is not handled, it is not managed, it does cause a lot. It's a causation for many diseases, hypertension, diabetes, Alzheimer's, just a whole list of things that if you manage the stress, you can really manage your potentiality to get those diseases, right? So there are even different types of stresses. Now, most of us hear about the bad types of stress. Most of us don't really hear about eustress. Eustress is good stress, right? It's the stress that's helpful for us. Think exercise. I don't know about you. When I exercise, I am stressed. My body is getting stressed, but that's actually a good kind of stress. And also, what about the feelings you're getting when it's time for a vacation? You know, COVID-19 is done, and it's time for a vacation. You're getting ready to go on vacation. That's stressful too, but it's a good kind of stress because you know you're going to get some relaxation, or even the stress you go to family, you know, you're getting ready to go to a family vacation or family reunion. Sometimes a reunion in and of themselves are the other kind of stress we're going to talk about, but sometimes it's just good stress. You know, you're going to hang out with family. That's a eustress. Those are examples of eustress. The other type of stress is what we call distress. This is the one that most of us know. Distress is not helpful to the body, right? It can again this leads to interruptions in our happiness, and that's what causes us stress. It has led to an interruption in our happiness, and it can lead to things such as anxiety and depression and heart attack and hypertension and fear and anger and all those sorts of things, right? And even distress, there are different types of distress. You have an acute stress and you have chronic stress. So the acute stress is something that's like, wham, it kind of just like hits you, right? Think car accident. I had my car totaled back in October. That was acute stress. Totaled my car, completely paid off car, I might add. So yes, that was stress. Or even if you have a pet that dies suddenly, you were not expecting it. That's acute stress. It's like all at one time, and it can be overwhelming at that particular time. That's why we say acute stress. There is also the chronic stress. That's the stress that kind of hangs around and is with us for a while. And it can cause, you know, from some examples of chronic stress, think COVID-19 for the past 4 months. And if you're in China, a lot longer than that, and some other places. It's the long-term stress that if it isn't managed can start causing illnesses in and of itself. And even a long-term illness is a type of chronic stress, right? Such things as poverty is a type of chronic stress. Financial stress is a type of chronic stress, right? Over time, it starts to break the body down. Now, studies have found that developing a growth mindset is advantageous for managing stress and stressful situations, right? So when we think about stress, which is really cognitively, we're talking about thinking about it, it's like heightened awareness or heightened tension on things that are negative. If you think about, when we think about distress, acute stress, chronic stress, our attention is hyper focused on the things that are not going right, the things that are making us ill, the things that are making us angry, the things that are making us distressed. We have this cognitive, we're thinking about whatever it is making it stressful. So it comes down really to what we think about the stress is what it comes down to. So yes, stress is not going anywhere. It's here every day, every night, 24/7. But it really comes down to what we think about the stress as to how we can do to manage the stress. So it's about really learning to point your thoughts to positive information. Okay. And so what we do understand is this, is that when you're using like a lot, I'm an anxiety coach. We talk about anxiety and how to manage stress. A lot of what we do attends to the symptoms of the anxiety or the symptoms of the stress. Like if your heart rate is pounding, you do breathing exercises, it calms it down. You do yoga, it calms it down. Those things are all the physical manifestations of stress that we do, but we're not actually getting to the root often when we do that, right? And so we said that cognitively stress is heightened attention on the negative things that's not going right. And so we need to learn how to point our thoughts back to positive information. So how can we do that? We need to do that by shifting our thinking to a growth mindset, right? So when you are, again, using stress fighting strategies like exercise and meditation, they reduce that baseline stress. It calms your heart rate and it calms all the excitatory neurons. It does that, and it does it well, right? I have people do mindfulness. That stuff really does help. What it doesn't do, though, when we do those types of physical, the breathing and the yoga and the exercising, right? And I even have people, you can dip your hands in ice and that actually can help relieve anxiety and relieve stress. But it doesn't attend to the cognitive cause of the stress within the brain. So it takes all the physical stuff, those anxiety and stress fighting strategies, they take care of the physical stuff. But what about your brain? Because if you've been stressed, or people that are, especially people that stress causes anxiety, your thoughts start to race. And that's what really gets us more anxious and more stressed. So rather than focusing on what's going wrong, you have to look within the brain and start looking at, what if you stop focusing on what's going wrong and start taking that attention and focus on what's positive? So it's not about pretending or, like, I'm just going to pretend this is not going on. Not about pretending at all. It's about refocusing your attention. There's a difference. Pretending is mean we're just going to pretend that doesn't exist. Like my house didn't catch a fire and I'm not trying to figure out how to do that. I'm just going to pretend that's not there. Not the same thing. It is about refocusing attention from the negative to the positive. When you do that, you can use a growth mindset for a solution to manage stress. So what do you mean? A growth mindset tells us that our skills, it's like we have these skills and we have these abilities. They're always there. Whether you're stressed or not, those abilities are there. A growth mindset reminds us that we have these skills and we have these bubbling pools of possibility and potential, rather than being stagnant traits that we can't change. Well, I can't change it. I can't do anything to fix it. I can't do that. That's not what a growth mindset is. It's a fixing mindset, not a growth mindset. With a growth mindset, you can develop or acquire new abilities to go ahead and shore up the ones you already have, thereby strengthening their capabilities, right? So as you start looking at the world through a lens of growth, a growth mindset, you begin to shift your thoughts away from just looking at the negative to looking at, how can I use what's going on with that negative? How can I use it? How can I refocus my attention and actually use it? In other words, okay, stuff has hit the fan, right? Stuff is not going right. I'm really stressed. Whether it's acute stress or it's chronic stress, I am stressed. When you cultivate a growth mindset, you don't worry so much about what your problems are, what's stressing you out. Instead of wondering how you'll get through this, and oh my God, am I going to make it? You start asking yourself better constructive questions, such as, what can I learn from this? Is there a skill I can develop through this? Can I better my skills? Can I get through this in a better way than I'm doing right now? So instead of stressing out about your problems, use your growth mindset to see the opportunities for improvement. And really, I use this a lot. This is one of the things that I was able to use to overcome my social anxiety. When I screwed up in front of people, and there were some royal screw ups, I would worry so much. All my attention would focus on the negative that I would never see how I can better myself, how I can do better, how I can improve my strengths. So now that's actually what I do. When stuff hits the fan, it's like, okay, that hit the fan. Yeah, that was pretty bad. I got two questions. What is my lesson or my blessing? Those are the two things. With the growth mindset, those are the questions you can ask yourself instead of stressing out, because the stressful situations are not going anywhere. What can I learn from this? And there have been some pretty big screw ups in my life, and I've learned a lot from the screw ups, right? That is how I learned that's how I got over social anxiety. Start looking at, I can sit here and mope for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, or I can figure out, what do I learn from this situation? What is the lesson or the blessing? How can I move forward? Right? Stressful situations, again, they're going to be there. They're not going anywhere. But with the growth mindset, you realize that you have the capacity to look and respond to stress differently. Rather than focusing attention on the negative, focus that attention on the positive. What can I get out of this? How can I get better? And sometimes it's not about getting out of it right now. Sometimes it's looking forward to the future and said, okay, this hit, but next time I know this, right? I know for me, there's just been some big things in my life that went, oh my gosh, I've gone to do speeches, and when you have social anxiety, doing speaking in front of people can be one of the stressful situations, like acute, right? It's there. Got there, the electricity or the PowerPoint didn't work. So what I learned from that is rather than freaking out, like, what am I going to do? I learned in the next, presentation that I had to do, make your own copies. You may not have 100 copies, but really 30 is better than none. B, have your presentation with you, marked up notes and everything. So whether you're doing your presentation on the PowerPoint, it's on the screen, or whether you really got to have that presentation in your hand and still continue the mission, that's what I learned. Because I've gone places, well, we thought we were going to have a copy machine, so we can't print your materials. We can't print your handouts. We thought this is going to happen. This isn't working. So I learned. Again, as someone who has to really think about a presentation and get into the right mindset about a presentation, that was enough to cause me acute stress. And so rather than freak out, okay, I have one copy, I'll make do. Rather than being up on the stage, I'll walk around and attend to my audience and be right there with them as I talk. That was a do for that particular moment. That was a way to handle it. Next time, bring your own copies, and then always have your PowerPoint so that I'm ready. So whenever I go to a presentation now, whether the copier is working, whether the PowerPoint is working or not, I am prepared to do that. It's a lesson or a blessing, and I learned a lesson. And it is one that still sticks with me right now, right? So if you enjoyed this presentation of how you can use a growth mindset to manage stress, give me a thumbs up, or if you're out on YouTube, give me a like the video, and I appreciate that. Share it. If you know someone who's always trying to in a constant state of stress and can't figure out what to do, and how to go and how to get out of it, send them a copy. Share this link with them, because it's good information. A growth mindset teaches you how to not stress and put so much attention on the negative, but it teaches you to put your attention on the positive. Again, we are not pretending something doesn't exist. We're just taking the focus off of the negative, putting on the positive, and seeing what's my lesson or what's my blessing. How can I learn from this and move on, or how can I grow from this and move on, right? So I am back here Thursday at 6:30 p.m., which is 5:30 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time and 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you're in the UK, because some of you are still up at 11:30 at night, right? And also on Sydney time, it's 8:30 in the morning. And I'll be talking with you. I'll be sharing with you the 10 factors that you can use to actually build a mindset to create success. So be sure to come back here and see me this Thursday at 6:30. I'll put the invites out. They'll be on my Facebook page, Twanna Carter, Professional Personal Coaching, as well as my group, Rising Above Anxiety. If you want to join that group, it is a free group, anxiety support group for women. I'll put the address, the link out there so that you can actually join. It is very, it's a support group for you to join. I'm going to get that link right there. See, coming in, having two screens comes in handy. You're going to pop that out there, right? There you go. If you want to join that, I do announce my lives there as well. Or you can always just stop by my YouTube channel. Just hit the subscribe button so that every time I go live, you get a message. And I do schedule these and it'll let you know it's been scheduled. Thanks for joining, everybody, and have a great evening.